Striving through the wilderness, creating the myth of invincibility, strolling through ancient times, forging immortal legends. Neglecting the origins and failures of the world, wielding the power of reincarnation in the myriad realms of the heavens. When the world is invincible and invincible, looking back, I suddenly realized that all of this was just keywords of the novel. Driving to no pop-up window, driving to the complete TXT collection download, driving to the latest chapters for reading. Chapter 1. Misfortune or Luck. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Misfortune or Luck. Hongmengxing Avenue nurtures the Chaos Demon God. Within the chaos, there are 3,000 demon gods, representing the 3,000 laws. Among them, the top 10 demon gods are time, space, creation, and destruction. Each of them holds a companion spiritual treasure and roams freely in the chaos. Today, the demon god of Wuli, the primitive heavenly king, Pangu, has emerged. It is time to shatter chaos, open up the heavens and prove the Tao, and evolve into a vast wilderness. Who is Pangu? Why haven't we heard of him before? How dare we do this? I will surely destroy him. When Pangu was born, all the chaos demon gods felt it and were discussing it. They had not yet heard of this number one chaos demon god. At this moment, they sensed an opportunity to prevent Pangu from preaching, and could obtain the opportunity of no upper level. The eyes of all the chaotic demon gods turned red. They practiced for what, not for transcendence. How audacious! How dare you break the chaos? I will kill the demon god and meet him. When this news spread throughout the chaos, more chaotic demons rushed towards Pangu's position, but what was somewhat different was that a chaotic creature ran towards the opposite position. The passing chaos demon god looked at him intently, but he didn't care too much about it. They were all trying to prove their way, and he couldn't control the chaos creature that had only been cultivated to the great Luo Golden Immortal. I need to run a little further, otherwise I will be affected again. I'll sit and watch them rise tall, and then watch them collapse. After speaking, I remembered my past memories again. I used to be an ordinary office worker, but I didn't expect to be hit in the head by an old lady with a plate. As a result, I crossed over and became a newborn baby. After crossing the time, he realized that the plate was the grinding wheel of destruction, which excited him for a long time and thanked his mother countless times. From then on, he practiced in another world where spiritual energy was revived. By the time he reached university, he had already reached the realm of refining the void and harmony Tao. Just when he thought he was rising again, he encountered a battle between two cultivators, trying to grab a gray gem. As a result, he was affected and his braids were once again raised. Unexpectedly, after waking up, he turned into a chaotic aura, but there were two precious treasures protecting him and there was no assimilation. After 2 travels, he thought it was a problem with his own name, so he changed his name to Taiyuan. After changing his name, he gradually practiced step by step. From then on, he slowly practiced and inquired about the period when it was hidden in the pearl. From the pearl's memory, he learned that it was a chaos, but it was unclear whether it was the chaos he understood. Chaos does not remember the year. When Taiyuan reached the level of the Luo Jin Xian, he began to travel cautiously. After countless years, he finally discovered a terrifying fact, which was the chaos in his memory. As he walked, he also encountered many chaotic demons, but those who didn't care about him at all. In their eyes, this little thing was not even as good as an ant, and they didn't even have the interest to take a glance. On that day, he heard the voice of Pangu's birth, and knowing the reason, he flew wildly towards the other side. Fortunately, those chaotic demons were not willing to pay attention to him. Not to mention any disputes, do you care about ants in one's eyes? This should be far enough, but their bodies are really huge. Now even one of their fingers can rub me to death, but fortunately they are not interested in me. Taiyuan said with some happiness, looking at the chaotic demon god battles from afar with his gaze. Of course, he couldn't see them in his realm, but the auxiliary treasure could still be seen. Opening up the heavens and opening up the world, all of you should be robbed. Kill. Pangu. You act in reverse, speak shamelessly, and I will behead you. At this moment, the battle demon god Chaos Monkey appeared, holding a chaotic-colored giant stick and emitting the aura of a top-grade chaotic spirit treasure. It should be noted that in the chaos, except for Pangu, other chaotic gods used top-grade chaotic spirit treasures and below. Humph. It's shameless to speak big, it should be extinguished. The light in Pangu's hand flickered, and a bit of a chaotic axe appeared in his hand. The powerful momentum shook away the chaos and headed straight towards the chaos monkey, who quickly resisted. Click. A sound came out, and under the incredulous gaze of many demon gods, the top-quality chaos spirit treasure was shattered, and the chaos demon ape spat out blood in its big mouth, continuously spitting out 4 mouthfuls. The other chaos demon gods who watched were all excited. You should know that this chaos monster ape is also ranked high among them, and except for a few people, no one can defeat him. Let's deal with him together. He has the chaos treasure in his hand. Hurry up and kill him. Suddenly, a voice came from behind, making it unclear from whose mouth it was coming from. After hearing this, many demon gods didn't pay much attention to it. They directly used their most powerful moves. Seeing such chaotic demon gods attacking together, Pangu frowned, and a creation jade plate appeared on his head. Then, a huge lotus appeared under his feet. 36th grade Chaos Qinglian, everyone hurry up. Kill him and he will be ours. That voice rang out again, and everyone frowned. However, they decided to solve the problem before proceeding. The battle continued for an unknown amount of time. When all the dust fell to the ground, there were broken spiritual treasures and the bodies of the chaos demon god everywhere. Except for a few who escaped at a heavy cost, most of them were here. With an indifferent glance at the dead chaos demon god, Pangu directly used the heavenly axe to shatter the chaos. When the first ray of light appeared, Pangu's eyes were filled with joy, which was the world he wanted. 1 axe opens up the world. 2 axes and 2 instruments present. 3 talents, heaven, earth, and people, 4 symbols fix 4 poles, ... Until after the 9 axes, the heavens and earth opened up, and the earth, water, fire, and storm were chaotic. Pangu touched the heavenly axe, and then shook it in his hand, causing it to shatter and transform into the 3 treasures of heavenly creation. These 3 treasures all have the power of top-notch chaotic spiritual treasures. The Tai Chi diagram transforms into yin and yang, suppressing the chaotic energy and calming the earth, water, fire, and wind. The Pangu banner emits a chaotic sword aura, splitting open the chaos that has not yet dissipated, tearing apart layers of void, and continuing to expand the world. The sound of the chaotic bell rang, suppressing the vast world of Hongmeng and refining the suppressed earth, water, fire, and wind. As time slowly passed, the heaven and earth were completely formed. Pangu, who was about to breathe a sigh of relief, suddenly saw that the heaven and earth were about to merge, and he took big steps into them, standing tall and upright. As time went on, the pressure on him grew stronger, and the chaotic green lotus under his feet was completely trampled to pieces, eventually forming an innate spiritual treasure. As the world grew heavier and heavier, Pangu looked at the desolate world and sighed, well, let's just complete this piece of world. When the flood and famine are destroyed, Pangu will return. Pangu's body fell, and the jade butterfly of creation scattered into fragments, spreading throughout the entire flood and wasteland. Only those who have the chance can regain it. As his last voice rang out, Pangu's body gradually divided into stars, his eyes divided the sun and moon, his 5 limbs transformed into the 5 sacred mountains, and his navel transformed into the sea of blood. In the future, a great supernatural being held 2 killing swords, and he was born on a lotus platform at the bottom of his seat. He was the ancestor of the Styx River. Sweat turns into pearls, rain, and dew, and the veins on both hands turn into 2 dragons, divided into ancestral dragons and candle dragons. Blood and flesh are transformed into fertile land, nourishing this world. The fragments of the primordial god are divided into 3 parts, transformed into the Taiqing Moral Heavenly Sovereign, the Yuqing Yuanchi Heavenly Sovereign, and the Shangqing Tongtian sect leader. He can be said to be a safe winner in life, leading the starting line from birth. The essence and blood turned into 12 ancestral witches, circling around the edge of the heart, floating non-stop, as if telling something. When Pangu's head was trying to figure out why, it was hit by a bead and floated in place, as if waiting for something. As Pangu completely merged into the wasteland, a chaotic giant eye appeared in the sky, which was the legendary eye of the Great Tao, flashing with the 3,000 laws. After scanning the wasteland, an invisible wave descended. 3 top-quality chaotic spiritual treasures were quickly sealed, only able to exert the strength of an innate treasure. This also gave the Taiyuan in the Chaos Pearl a clear understanding. Legend has it that most of the spiritual treasures in the Chaos Qinglian were transformed into it. Why is it that the same Chaos treasure, the Heavenly Axe, has only been transformed into 3 pieces? It turns out that this is how it is. After completing this task, the giant eyes slowly closed. Before leaving, he lowered the aura of boundless merit and virtue, giving 30% to Zuwu and 30% to Sanqing, with the remaining 2 layers surrounding Pangu's head. The last 2 layers, combined with the aura of Hongmeng, form the ultimate treasure of postnatal merit in killing and attacking. Hongmeng measures the heavens. The other layer, combined with the Xianhuang Qi, forms the Xianhuang Linglong Pagoda, the most valuable treasure of defense in the world. With the departure of the main road, Pangu's head quickly absorbed 2 layers of merit, and then flew towards the 2 postnatal merit treasures. Before the largest clear energy had flown, he collected 2 merit treasures. This made the still undeveloped Qingqi emit a hint of hostility, causing the head to stop again and quickly bite into several Qingqi. This formed a situation. Originally, the 3 groups of primordial gods, Qingqi, accounted for 30% of the primordial gods, and the head only occupied 1 layer. However, after being bitten, Sanqing only occupied 2 layers, while Pangu's head occupied a full 4 layers. Seeing that there were no benefits to take advantage of, the 3 elemental gods quickly huddled together and flew towards the east. 12 drops of blood essence only surrounded Pangu's heart and sank to the bottom of Zhoushan, without flying elsewhere. The gaze of Pangu's head turned once again to Pangu Fan. Due to the aura emanating from him, Pangu Fan did not refuse and actively approached him. Just as he was about to take the other 2 treasures, a burst of yin and yang energy suddenly appeared next to him. The Tai Chi diagram, attracted by the yin and yang energy, quickly followed suit and ran away. Taiyuan, who was hiding inside the Chaos Pearl, felt anxious for a moment, but only looked at the last Chaos Clock. Before he could even take action, a long worm appeared next to him. Taiyuan thought so. He wanted to collect this treasure. Upon seeing it, Taiyuan realized that it was okay. He directly used the Chaos Ball to control Pangu's head to collide with it, causing the void to collapse. The Chaos Clock was knocked into the void and quickly disappeared. The long worm, seeing that it had not caught anything good, turned its head and gave a fierce glance at Taiyuan, emitting a blurry sound. Without waiting for Taiyuan to reply, it quickly swept through several chaotic green lotus fragments before escaping underground. New book seeking support, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Taiyuan's Birth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Taiyuan's Birth. After seeing that there were no opponents, Taiyuan controlled Chaos Pearl and scanned the fragments of Chaos Qinglian, which were also mixed with several pieces of creation jade plate. Then, seeing that there was nothing left, Taiyuan controlled the Chaos Pearl and flew to the top of Pangu's spine, near the edge of chaos, beginning a long period of seclusion. In the blink of an eye, there are countless Yuan Hui in the Honghuang era. Under the control of the Great Tao, the Honghuang has become a thriving area, no longer as empty as when the heavens first appeared. At the peak of Mount Buzhou, Taiyuan also regained consciousness from the seclusion. This time, the seclusion mainly focused on refining Pangu's head and the 3 channels of Qingqi. Originally, it was impossible to refine the head of Pangu in his realm, but he used the grinding wheel of destruction, gradually eroding it and turning it all into the original energy. In the end, he successfully integrated the 4 fragments of Pangu's elemental god and the original energy transformed from his head. Although his realm only reached the peak of the Great Luo, his physical body had already reached the level of the Hunyuan Golden Immortal, and his foundation became incredibly solid. The Great Way is on the way, I am the Taiyuan, starting from the beginning and updating everything. It is the authentic Pangu, and the Great Way learns from it. The sound pierced through the entire wasteland, shocking the remnants of the chaotic demon gods who had reincarnated, as well as the unformed innate gods in the wasteland. With a loud bang, the avenue acknowledged his authentic identity as Pangu, and an invisible aura descended upon Taiyuan. Taiyuan was transformed into the innate Tao body again, wrapped in a dark golden robe, with his hair casually draped behind him. He also held a lotus platform, with 20.4 levels of blooming flowers, which were the treasures of the innate world. When he first flew up to Zhoushan, this lotus seed also followed suit and became his companion's spiritual treasure. Hee. I've been unlucky for 2 lifetimes. I didn't expect this life to start with a divine costume. I'm afraid Hongjun ancestor isn't as rich as me, right? Taiyuan muttered to himself, unaware that the long worm from the beginning should have been a cricket, the future ancestor of Hongjun. They had already developed a hatred, but he didn't know it at the time. It's time to refine these precious treasures, and then travel through the wilderness. The mountains of this lifetime will not collapse, as I said. Now it is still a time of great regulation for the Tao, and even fierce beasts have not yet emerged. Therefore, this is the best era, and the Tao will not be restricted. Therefore, he must become a Hunyuan Daoyuo Jingxian as soon as possible before the heavenly Tao comes out. As Taiyuan closed down, the appearance of Honghuang was not calm. On Kunlun Mountain, upon hearing Taiyuan declare Honghuang, the future Sanqing, who had not yet given birth to spiritual intelligence, trembled and seemed to be repelling something. At the foot of Mount Buzhou, the breath of Taiyuan was sensed, and the 12 channels of blood essence surrounded Pangu's heart, emitting a sense of joy. Yujing Mountain is a chaotic cricket perched at the peak of the Tai Golden Immortal, with a half-piece of creation jade butterfly on its head. Without obtaining the innate treasure, he accidentally obtained this half-piece of creation jade plate. It must be said that he is Hongfu Qitian. After hearing the voice of Taiyuan, a ray of hatred shone in his eyes. He had a hazy spiritual intelligence in the past, and he will never forget Taiyuan's aura. The wound from being hit by the Chaos Pearl is still not healed. Taiyuan, I remember you now. In the midst of a sword formation filled with boundless killing energy, a hazy figure murmurs to itself as if telling something. The Tai Chi Mountains are a vast array of innate yin and yang, with the flow of yin and yang energy, as if it could transform into a human figure at any time. Above it floats the innate treasure Tai Chi diagram, which was something that Taiyuan did not obtain in the past. The Qiankuan Mountains, not far from this place, have a congenital reversal of the Qiankuan formation. A virtual shadow appears on a giant cauldron, and the twisted Qiankuan energy around the body stirs up the void, causing the surrounding heaven and earth to be completely overturned. It is the future Qiankuan ancestor. The 5 elements ancestor of the 5 elements mountain range, the star ancestor above the stars, and the Yangmei ancestor on the Abbot Island, and so on. When Taiyuan announced it, they had all come to their senses, and even Yang Mei's realm was one step ahead of others. Apart from Taiyuan, he was the first to Luo Jinxian. The 2 giant dragons, such as the East China Sea, were formed by the 2 meridians of Pangu, possessing boundless divine powers. Their realm was not inferior to that of the other ancestors. On the undead volcano in the south, a beautiful 7-colored phoenix appeared, looking at the surrounding mountains from afar with a curious gaze. In the central land, there is a mountain range not far from Zhoushan. A colorful Qilin and a black-ink Qilin look at the mountain with complex eyes. As they are relatively close, they can better feel how terrifying the aura emitted by Taiyuan is. The other great gods who are lower than the ancestor-level characters are still ignorant and do not know what has happened, only practicing instinctively. On Mount Zhou, after a few elemental meetings, Taiyuan completely regained consciousness. Now, he has become the first mixed elemental golden immortal in this world, and the law of destruction he has comprehended has reached 60%. When he fully understood, it was only natural for him to merge the rules and become the Hongjun Daoyuo golden immortal. Moreover, among the obtained fragments of the creation jade plate, there is a strand of Qi luck law. According to the Qi luck law, a move called the Sword of Slaying Fortune was created, which does not target the body or soul, but directly slays people's Qi luck. When a person loses their luck and even drinks cold water, they are stuck in their teeth. Not to mention that this is a wasteland, but the only downside is that if they have a magic weapon to suppress their luck, this move will be greatly discounted. I should also go out and take a look, but there's a chance that belongs to me. I'll go up and collect it first. Taiyuan looked up at the sky and sensed his chance, which was right above the top of Zhoushan. Although he had a hint of speculation, it was better to go up and take a look. After leaving the dojo, he waved his hand and closed the formation, then took a step out and appeared in the sky. He sensed the prohibition and was there. A long banner appeared in his hand, which was the Pangu banner, shining with the sharpness of cutting through chaos. Having the power to tear apart the vast chaos, shatter the power of time and space, govern the mysteries of all laws, and create a new world. The mystery of power that dominates the top of the 3,000 avenues. As the Pangu banner swayed, strands of chaotic sword energy emanated, causing the attacking formation to shake and eventually unable to hold on, creating a crack. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Taiyuan flew in directly. After he entered, the cracks slowly closed and finally fully recovered. What a rich spiritual energy, worthy of the next 33 days. Now it belongs to me here. Along the way, we collected a lot of innate spiritual treasures, including innate spiritual roots, mountain, river, and country maps, and precious lotus lanterns, which are top-notch innate spiritual treasures. There are also many other spiritual treasures that are rare. The top 10 innate spiritual roots of peaches, which can restore mana and extend lifespan, are rare spiritual objects. There are also star fruit trees, 365 of which are very helpful for practicing the laws of the stars. Moreover, the star and fruit trees can also serve as the foundation for the Zhou-Tian star dough formation. As I slowly walked up to the last floor of 33 days, I saw the only palace, the Lingxiao Palace, which was a top-notch innate spiritual treasure that could only be taken away and suppressed by the heavenly court. The current heavenly court is desolate, after all, those palaces have not been built yet. I have finally refined my control, and from now on, I can exert even greater power in my hands. Moreover, if I were here, with my current state, even the Hongjun Daoyuo Jingxian could withstand it for a period of time. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Entering the Pangu Temple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Entering the Pangu Temple. 1,000 years later, the flood and wilderness became lively again, and a voice shattered the calm. I am Hongjun, born today, and learned from the Tao. But after waiting for a long time, there was nothing, just a sound echoing through the wilderness. When others saw it, they gave up the idea and only notified the wilderness. Has it finally been born? Now it's time to get lively, the most exciting era. After hearing the sound, Taiyuan also woke up from seclusion and had perfect control for 30.3 days. Now, as long as the heavenly way does not emerge immediately, no one is his opponent. He grows up and flies out for 30.3 days. Returning to the peak of Mount Buzhou once again, his gaze was filled with nostalgia. Even a powerful figure like Pangu was willing to sacrifice himself to become a Taoist. It's also time to go out for a walk, take a look at this great wilderness, and collect another spiritual root. I'm very curious about the 10 legendary innate spiritual roots. As he descended the Zhou Mountains, he recalled the immense pressure left by Pangu between them, making it impossible for him to fly. If it weren't for his authentic Pangu identity, he wouldn't have been able to survive here. As Taiyuan was preparing to descend the mountain, the flood and wilderness gradually became lively. The first generation of innate gods had surpassed the great Luo Golden Immortal, and even more powerful ones had already reached the mid to late stage. When Taiyuan was in seclusion, the ferocious beast Sheni had already appeared, and together with him appeared the heavenly demon Evil Execution. Both of them also appeared in the later stage of the great Luo Golden Immortal, very amazing, and each held an innate treasure, a divine killing spear, and a reincarnation plate. As soon as they were born, they subdued numerous ferocious beasts and established a clan of ferocious beasts, calling themselves the Beast Emperor. They stood in the northern wasteland and established the ferocious beast dynasty. Its momentum was unparalleled for a moment, and the innate deities in the vast north were either killed by them or forced to flee to other places, leading to anger and resentment. Led by Hongjun, the Sanshio alliance formed to fight against fierce beasts, gathering many innate deities. Like the realm of the late stage of the Yin and Yang ancestor Daluo Jingxian, the palm has the innate treasure Tai Chi diagram, which has the power to calm the earth, water, fire, and wind, transform the power of the 5 elements of Yin and Yang, and divide the mysteries of the heavenly Tao. It includes the ability of millions of phenomena and ranks first in defense among the innate treasures. There is also the Qiankuan ancestor, who possesses the gasification form of the innate Qiankuan and is accompanied by a spiritual treasure, the Qiankuan tripod, which can be returned to the innate world and has a certain degree of defensive power. Like other ancestors of the 5 elements, the Taoist who raised his eyebrows did not elaborate on each one. At this moment, they gathered together and were discussing how to deal with the ferocious beast. The appearance of the ferocious beast has seriously threatened their interests. The ferocious beast has caused a great deal of anger and resentment among people. It's time to go to the ashes. Dear fellow Taoist, old Dao Hongjun invited you all to come here to eradicate the ferocious beast and restore a clear and prosperous future. Hongjun said to everyone. Hongjun had a kind appearance, with a righteous expression on his face. If it weren't for everyone's understanding of him, they would have thought he was truly righteous. Looking at everyone with an indifferent expression and an attitude of not seeing rabbits and not scattering eagles, Hongjun had to use his trump card, which was also one of his confidence. To be honest with fellow Taoists, I have created a jade plate and calculated the heavenly mystery. I understand that the heavenly Tao is about to emerge, and eradicating ferocious beasts is beneficial to the heavenly Tao, which will bring down a lot of merits. Although these other people are all practicing the laws of the Tao, they are also very familiar with the heavenly way. After all, soon after, the Tao will retire and the heavenly way will be in charge of the wilderness. They will gain some merit from the heavenly way, which will be helpful for them to walk in the wilderness in the future. It is our unshirkable responsibility to bring peace and tranquility to the flood and wasteland. We will do our utmost to assist fellow Taoists in slaying ferocious beasts and bringing peace and tranquility to the flood and wasteland. The Yin-Yang Patriarch was the first to stand up and say that after gaining benefits, others expressed their obligation and almost went to battle. For everyone's hearts, Hongjun also understood very well that even he himself was moved by this, and deep down in his heart, there was a flash of breath that was left by the struggle between Taiyuan and him in the beginning. But after Hongjun was born, he did not encounter Taiyuan while walking through the wilderness, so he temporarily put this matter aside. When everyone was discussing the alliance, Taiyuan had already stepped down from Mount Buzhou. As it was still the beginning of heaven, there were no spiritual beasts in Mount Zhou, and even the future Empress An Yuhua and Fuxi had not yet been born. The empty Mount Zhou made Taiyuan feel a bit lonely. He, who was a person in his past life, still maintained his original intention. Along the way, he did not collect many spiritual treasures, and most of the others were still being nurtured. Even the fragments he received are now being nurtured by him in the 33 days. Let's go to the bottom of Mount Buzhou first and take a look at the 12 ancestors which. Since this generation has inherited the bloodline of Pangu, don't let it disappear in the river of time. After all, you have to start from the doll. After 1,000 years, relying on the feeling in his heart, he finally found the Pangu temple hidden by the innate formation in an inconspicuous mountain range. I didn't expect that the peripheral formations could withstand the Hongjun golden immortal. If it weren't for my Pangu bloodline, I might have been attacked long ago. When I walked into the Pangu palace, I realized that there was a palace, purely a vast world evolved from the heart of Pangu. Although it was only in its early stages, it was also remarkable. While Taiyuan was lost in thought, suddenly a series of childish voices interrupted his thoughts. That Taoist, who are you? Why can you come in silently? This is the world transformed by the Father's heart. Hurry up and get out, otherwise we won't be polite. This voice was a boy's voice. When Taiyuan turned his head to look, he found a huge blood cocoon wrapped around this creature, which was surrounded by many spatial forces. Taiyuan instantly understood who he was. Space Ancestor Wu. Emperor Jiang, with a shape like a yellow sack, red like a red flame, 6 legs and 4 wings, and a dull and unrecognizable appearance. I didn't expect him to have spiritual intelligence so early, and he truly deserves to be his elder brother. Although Pangu's essence and blood have not been absorbed by billions of parts now, his realm has reached the level of Xianxian, and he truly deserves to be a descendant of Pangu, with unique advantages. Taiyuan thought to himself that he had even used the Yuan Shen to scan other ancestral witches, only to find that only the time ancestral witch was about to give birth to spiritual intelligence, and everything else was still blank. So who do you say I am? Emperor Jiang. Taiyuan said calmly, then released his Pangu primordial spirit and essence breath, without releasing any power. After all, maybe he will be his own person in the future. Moreover, Taiyuan felt very interesting information that there is a primordial god in the current Emperor River, but it is weaker than normal cultivators because they suppress the evil energy together with the Pangu temple, so the damage to the primordial god is a bit greater, but not at all as legendary in later generations. Taiyuan suddenly thought of a conspiracy. When the Heavenly Way was born, he was worried that their potential was too great and deliberately guided them towards the path of specialized physical training. And this possibility, in the eyes of Taiyuan, is very likely. If all the 12 ancestral witches had elemental gods, wouldn't they have become 12 little Pangu, and no one could restrict them? Why do you have the aura of a father god on you? Are you the first eldest brother to be born? When feeling the aura of Taiyuan, there were some doubts in his childish voice. The reason why he developed his spiritual intelligence so early was the last time Taiyuan released his aura in Zhoushan. You can call me your elder brother, I am transformed from the head of Pangu. After listening to this, Emperor Jiang did not reject it. After all, he is not as smooth as he will be in the future, and Taiyuan was the first to emerge with strong strength, so recognizing him as a brother would not be at a disadvantage. Big brother, I didn't expect you to be born so early, and your cultivation is still so high. Jiang's immature voice was filled with a trace of envy. You should know that he had only just given birth to intelligence, and other brothers and sisters around him had no intelligence. Now he feels very lonely. You should cultivate well. Don't always cultivate the body. I inherited this Yuanshan skill. Take it to cultivate well. In the future, other brothers and sisters must also urge them to cultivate. Taiyuan directly gave him a 9 transformations Yuan Gong. After all, he didn't want the 12 ancestors which to become the same as he remembered in the future. Who said the 12 ancestors which couldn't cultivate the Yuan Shen? Taiyuan wanted to give it a try. New book seeking support. Your support is my greatest motivation. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Stepping into the Starry Sky. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 4. Stepping into the starry sky. In the following thousands of years, Taiyuan was earnestly teaching Emperor Jiang, and other ancestral witches gradually gave birth to spiritual intelligence, giving Taiyuan a feeling of taking care of children. In other parts of the wilderness, with the establishment of the alliance, there have been several major battles against the fierce beast clan, all of which ended in the failure of the scattered Cultivation alliance. Fortunately, the alliance of scattered Cultivation has numerous treasures, and the fierce beast clan can only defeat them, but lacks the power to pursue them. This great war has accelerated their destruction of the wilderness, and countless innate deities are still being nurtured by them, drawing their innate spiritual light and refining it into a killing army. Ha ha ha. I, the son of the fierce beast clan, have done a great job. I need to nip the danger in the bud. Master Hongjun, once I break through, I will go and destroy their group of people. In the northern part of the vast wilderness, amidst 100,000 mountains, countless ferocious beasts, whether transformed or not, all raised their high heads and looked at their own emperor. The roaring sound continued, and the voice of God's rebellion spread throughout the entire 100,000 mountains. In this great war, not only was the scattered Cultivation alliance ahead, but he also discovered many new and emerging fierce beasts. Brother, we have to guard against Hongjun, he is our biggest obstacle. The other ferocious beast emperor next to him, said the heavenly demon Evil Zhu. His name symbolizes disaster and destruction, and he is also a powerful figure with great supernatural powers. Together with the beast emperor and the god of rebellion, he nurtured and transformed in the 100,000 great mountains. The ferocious beast clan can only survive today without the development of their brothers. Chaos, Chi Chi, Tao Wu, and Tao Tai, you four must guard the four directions well. Our emperor and the heavenly demon emperor will break through the realm of seclusion. When we leave the pass, it will be the day of unifying the wilderness. Upon hearing his own imperial brother's words, Sheni directly arranged for the four fierce beast kings to guard the four directions. The four of them were the strongest except for himself, and they could withstand yin, yang, and heaven and earth for a while. Thank you very much, Emperor. We pledge to defend the fierce beast clan to the death. Upon hearing the words of God's rebellion, the four kings of fierce beasts bowed together to God's rebellion. For their emperor, they were full of reverence, and the demeanor of other masters in the war is still vividly remembered. My fierce beast clan sons and daughters, listen carefully. After our emperor clears the level, we will take you to break through the Sanshio alliance. Emperor, roar. The earth-shattering roar completely shocked the innate deities who had not yet escaped, but for these weak ones, Shen Enai did not care. They were just targets for his own children's training. The vibration in the northern part of the flood and famine completely alarmed the Sanshio alliance, so Hongjun once again gathered them together to discuss countermeasures. I don't know everyone's current opinion. The fierce beast clan is strong, and we need to find a way to deal with it. Otherwise, our innate gods will become their food or refined weapons. Hongjun is also a bit anxious now. It should be noted that all innate gods carry an indestructible spiritual light, and some are nurtured into innate spiritual treasures. If the fierce beast clan expands again, it is still a question whether they can stop themselves and others. I have a method, the dragon, phoenix, and Chilan tribes. Although they cannot compare to the current fierce beasts, they are also an undeniable power. We can invite them to join the alliance. At this moment, the five elements ancestor on one side said that when he was collecting the five elements, he had a conversation with them. Although his level was slightly lower than his own, he was also one of the best among the great Luo golden immortals. I agree with the words of the five elements' friends, but who will persuade them? At this moment, Qinkuan ancestor said that he also knew these three people, but there was once a grudge. When Qinkuan Qi was born, he fought against Zulong and affected countless worlds of dust. The others closed their eyes and pondered, saying that it was not their own business. After all, if we couldn't reach an agreement, there was a possibility of a big fight. They didn't want to provoke an enemy, they were all old monsters who had lived for countless years and knew the way to protect themselves. Seeing that no one was willing to take action, Hongjun's eyes flickered with a hint of displeasure. When he took advantage of it, he wanted to take it, but when he tried, he didn't want to take any action. He made a hard note of them in his heart. I still have some friendship with them, let's go to the Dragon Clan. The remaining 2 clans will be handed over to other Taoist friends. Hongjun stood up with a smile on his face and said, neither soft nor hard. The implied meaning was already very obvious. I will go to the Dragon Clan, and you will take care of the rest, let's go to the Feng tribe, poor Taoist. I once had a friendship with Yuan Feng Dao, and I believe she won't make things difficult for me. Seeing no one speak up, the Yin-Yang ancestor stood up helplessly and said. Thank you, Yin-Yang Taoist. We are grateful and wish you success. After speaking, everyone looked at the 5 elements, meaning that everyone would go, and the remaining Qilin group would be yours. After sighing, the 5 elements said to the crowd, the Kirin clan, let me go and walk. When they were discussing, Taiyuan from Mount Buzhou also left the 12 ancestral witches and taught them a certain foundation before embarking on his own journey again. The 12 ancestors which is guarded by the Pangu temple, and ordinary enemies cannot enter, so he is not worried about any danger or the like. This time, Taiyuan wanted to go to the stars and take a look. He had a Zhou-Tian star tree on him and wanted to see if he could comprehend the Zhou-Tian star Do formation. Since he entered the 33 heavens, he has regarded Zhou-Tian star as his own territory. As for the future demon race, it's none of his business. Taiyuan is not like those travelers who dare not change anything. You should know that there is nothing that cannot be changed now that the heavenly way has not appeared. If it is really a fixed number, then it cannot be changed no matter what. Is it still called a fixed number that can be changed? Taiyuan has always believed that as long as his power is strong enough, there is nothing that cannot be changed, and everything is reasonable under the Tao, otherwise he would not recognize his authentic identity as Pangu. Stepping out in one step, the world suddenly changed. When it reappeared, it was already within the stars, although it was not within the reach of the Hun Yuan de Luoqian Xian Nian. But at his level, coupled with his understanding of some ways of time and space, just a few steps from Mount Zhou to the Starry Sky are enough. The Starry Sky is not filled with a heavy aura like the wilderness, but rather with countless star energies, each emitting a unique power, hot and cold. Since we have arrived at the Starry Sky, why not take a walk to the Sun Star? See if that precious treasure is there. Taiyuan muttered to himself. With this thought in mind, a long river of time and space appeared under his feet, connecting the sun in the dark. When the sun was shining now, even this Hunyuan golden immortal felt the heat. From this, it can be seen that Pangu's realm is not only profound and unpredictable, shaking his head to hold on to the thoughts in his mind, but now the most important thing is to improve his own strength. Taiyuan does not believe that there is only one chaos. His original world did not evolve from this chaos, so Taiyuan speculates that there is more than one chaos. Is this the sun star? I don't know if there are any innate gods born. When stepping onto the sun star, Taiyuan felt a powerful aura, but it was not emitted by the sun itself. Who disturbed my deep sleep, damn it? A vast and grand voice appeared in Taiyuan's ear, making people shiver. New book seeking support. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Battle. A vast and majestic force emanated from the sun star, and Taiyuan could even feel that the other party's realm was not below him, with a voice full of masculine dominance. So it's you little guy who broke into this dojo, and I know you're guilty. A person standing 8 feet tall, wearing a golden crown and a golden black robe, with a rebellious expression and indifferent eyes, looked at Taiyuan. He was one of the 3,000 demon gods in the past, the sun demon god Candlelight. The former Taiyuan also glanced at him from a distance, but at that time, he was too weak, and the other party showed no interest in him. But at this moment, he still carries the airs of a chaotic demon god. Unfortunately, this is not the era of the past, and you are not the heyday of the past. I am still afraid of you. What's wrong? I came to Sun Star and I need to ask you, a chaos demon god. Do you think you're still the sun candle that once shone high? I used to be no match for him and could only endure humiliation to make a living. Now that I have entered the era of chaos, I am no longer the small de Luoqian of the past. For Taiyuan's words, Zhu Zhao's face changed constantly. Although he lost some memories, he still knows some things. The ants he once looked down on now want to mock him. I am seeking death, the sun is shining brightly, ignite it for me. If you don't take action, it's already done. With just one move, it's a deadly move. As Sun Jinyan takes action, the void around Taiyuan burns, and a deadly force surrounds it. Taiyuan folds countless spaces in an attempt to resist this move. But the Sun Jinyan seemed to burn everything, and the space was broken every inch by the fire. A single move was useless, and Taiyuan's secret way truly deserved to be a chaotic demon god. Even if it was a residual soul, it was not easy to provoke. Under my feet appeared the green lotus of creation, emitting the light of creation and the profound laws of creation. It permeated the air, and the golden sun was extinguished. How could a divine power be compared to an innate treasure? I didn't expect you to be so lucky to have obtained the 24th grade of the creation green lotus. It seems that my candlelight has a good fortune today, with innate treasures delivered to your door. He has completely taken Taiyuan's treasure as his own, and in his eyes, Taiyuan is just a dead person. The attack just now was just his ordinary blow. Humph. Take another move from this seat, 9 suns in the same sky, falling. The 9 wheels emitted a scorching sun, appearing in the hands of the candlelight. It was more than 1,000 times stronger than the previous blow, carrying an unstoppable momentum to kill the Taiyuan, and all the spiritual energy around it was burned to light. Feeling the terrifying power of this attack, Taiyuan's mind moved and the light of creation appeared to protect himself. A ruler emitting purple appeared in his hand. The light of Hongmeng flashes, the light of merit permeates, and there are waves of Tao sound, which is the ruler of Hongmeng measuring the heavens. With one hand slashing horizontally, the 9 yang fell, facing the posthumous treasure Hongmeng, the heavenly ruler of merit and virtue. He couldn't even withstand a single move. The postnatal treasure of merit and virtue can be compared to the innate treasure to a certain extent, and this treasure does not involve cause and effect in killing. It can be said to be a treasure that the great god of the wilderness dreams of. The greatest treasure of merit and virtue in the day after tomorrow, the Hongmeng ruler of heaven. I didn't expect you to have such good luck that it impressed me. After speaking, he flipped his hand and took out a chaotic-colored clock. It is the chaos clock, which has the power to twist the time and space of the heavens, evolve the mysteries of the heavenly Tao, refine the energy of the earth, water, fire, and wind, and illuminate the heavens with 5-colored light. The holy power of chaos intimidates the world. Chaos clock is mysterious and infinite in creation. It can imprison time and suppress space. Rebound the attack of any treasure divine weapon and the damage of all divine spells. Equipped with a combination of attack, and defense, standing undefeated from the top. The sound of bells is majestic, the universe is brilliant, the sky and earth lose color, and the universe shakes. Only a loud voice could be heard, echoing through the heavens. The innate gods who were closed on the vast land woke up one after another, their eyes fixed on the sun star, full of shock. The chaos clock has appeared, who is fighting against its owner. These great deities are all communicating with each other, and so far, they only know that the Tai Chi diagram was obtained by the yin-yang ancestor. Due to the intense battle between the two, they were just a Luoqian and could only be seen through the projection of the river over time. They dared not approach at all. You should know that this is the battle of the Hunyuan Golden Immortal, and if you are not careful, it will affect you. The Dharma Eye candle illuminates the heavens and the earth. Hongjun, the old ancestor who is currently in seclusion on Yujing Mountain, first became angry when the bell rang, and then his face constantly changed, clearly thinking of something bad. When Duo Da's face suddenly changed in the wilderness, he felt the power of the chaos clock up close, and Taiyuan's face changed. This was the last thing he wanted to see. The chaos clock had already taken over. Taiyuan, who was momentarily paused by the sound of the bell, had already regained consciousness when Zhu Zhao arrived by his side. Although chaos clock was powerful, Zhu Zhao could not fully exert its full potential now. He. Although you are a born treasure, you cannot exert your full potential. Who wins or loses is still unknown. With a faint smile on one side, and folding countless spacetimes on the other, after releasing the attack of the chaos clock. Then he stepped on the Qinglian tree and held the Hongmeng measuring ruler, not retreating but advancing instead. He directly bullied his body and launched a melee based on his physical advantage. The Hongmeng measuring ruler was transformed into a giant sword by him, and the destruction law of Taiyuan cultivation was attached to it. The attack directly passed through the chaos clock and hit the sun candlelight. Ah! Damn it! The law of destruction enters the body, causing heavy damage within the body. Every part of the body is broken and then repaired, causing great damage to the sun candle. Dang 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 dang. Angry and ashamed, he picked up the chaos clock and shook it again, affecting countless stars, forming a terrifying force of suppression and descending towards Taiyuan. Xiaodaor, destruction is boundless, time and space are boundless, kill me. Faced with such an attack, Taiyuan directly unleashed his own divine powers and techniques, and the laws of time and space became a trap for a moment. And the law of destruction transforms into a sword of destruction, swinging open the sealed chaotic clock and continuing to move forward. Wherever it passed, the chaotic energy of shattered space spewed out, absorbed by the destruction sword and transformed into a more powerful attack, heading towards Zhuzhou town. The law of the highest yang, the guardian of light, Ah. Sensing the impending crisis, Candlelight directly evolved into a divine defense, while summoning the chaos clock on the other side. However, in a short moment, he was injured several times. Dang! At this moment, a bell sounded as if it could suppress everything and overturn the world, completely imprisoning and destroying this attack. One blow failed to achieve full success, and Hongmeng's measuring ruler turned into a purple dragon, appearing next to the chaos clock in an attempt to drag it down again. Humph! The sound of the end. With a cold hum from the candlelight, the chaotic clock was triggered to evolve into the final attack. As the bell rang, a bell rang out in countless worlds, even more terrifying than the previous ones. As if seeing the twilight of the apocalypse, the decline of heaven and humanity, countless dimensions of time and space, layers of faults appeared, and the green lotus of creation appeared around Taiyuan, then waved his hand to fold the time and space, blocking this attack. Zhu Zhao also suffered a backlash. After all, he was just a Hunyuan golden immortal and did not have the powerful power to maintain the consumption of the innate treasure. Let this battle come to an end. As soon as Taiyuan finished speaking, he revealed his true cultivation, with muscles twisted all over his body, hair like stars, and eyes like the sun and moon. When the fist clenched tightly and the destructive power circulated on it, it hit the chaos clock with a punch. The two collided, the fist shattered, and the chaos clock was also penetrated into a space crack. Immediately after, with the other hand holding a Hongmeng measuring ruler, he aimed directly at the candlelight. Due to the temporary loss of contact with the chaos clock, he faced this attack with a fierce gaze and sprayed out a large mouthful of blood essence, fully blocking the move. Before he could relax, cold hair rose from behind in the next moment, and a danger of death surrounded him. When he reacted again, he couldn't dodge and was seriously injured by a chaotic sword energy. Unexpectedly, my true self was in chaos and eventually fell into your hands. Originally, there was no chaos clock defense, and the candlelight was restrained in its energy. It was completely unexpected that Taiyuan had another precious treasure, which led to being beaten to the brink of death. Taiyuan remained silent and continued to wield his sword energy, while his other hand disrupted the space and time. Zhu Zhao, who was already seriously injured and on the brink of death, faced this attack with no resistance at all. Looking at the trace of the original source in place, Taiyuan still felt a little uneasy, and directly put away the source and threw it into the soul, which was bound to the great destruction mill. With the rotation of the grinding wheel, the already silent origin once again remembered the sound of screams. It turned out that he was pretending to be on the brink of death just now, but he didn't expect that Taiyuan would be so vigilant, which ultimately led to his failure. Taking a look at the original place, Taiyuan searched for his own sense and walked to the interlayer of time and space, finding the chaotic clock stained with his own blood. Due to losing the owner and the Pangu aura on Taiyuan's body, he was received without any resistance. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Hongjun Luoqian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Hongjun Luoqian. When the battle came to an end, the sentient beings in the wilderness slowly reacted and were deeply shocked. On Mount Yujing, Hongjun, holding a jade butterfly in his hand, just realized that when he was calculating just now, he only calculated the sun candle, which was the reincarnation of the residual soul of the chaos demon god. As for the other one, because Taiyuan has the treasure of chaos to cover up the sky, and Hongjun is just an incomplete creation jade butterfly, how can it be inferred? However, when Taiyuan released his breath, Hongjun's originally peaceful face gradually became ferocious. When he reached the level of the Luoqian Xian, he observed the scene of the beginning of heaven in the long river of time and space. Since Taiyuan did not deliberately conceal it, he could easily see that he gritted his teeth in hatred towards this powerful enemy. He, who had never suffered losses before, repeatedly suffered losses in Taiyuan's hands. So it's you, he. It's almost there, not far from revenge. Hongjun murmured to himself a few words before entering a deep level of seclusion. His cultivation had reached the peak of the Daluo Golden Immortal. But other places have different reactions. The Qiankuan Mountains of the Qiankuan ancestor, during the battle between the two of Taiyuan, had already paid close attention to this battle. To his surprise, the sun god, who held the treasure of heaven, fell. I didn't expect that there were so many strong people emerging in Honghuang, and I still need to speed up my cultivation. After sighing, they fell into seclusion again. For these innate gods, apart from their strength, everything is meaningless. In the northern part of the wilderness, the divine rebellion, who had just broken through the Hunyuan Golden Immortal, was not yet happy. Unexpectedly, he encountered another battle and was even stronger than his current self. A fierce fighting spirit appeared in his eyes, but he knew his current state and that going was equivalent to seeking death, so he had to temporarily suppress this fighting spirit. Taiyuan didn't mind what happened in the flood and famine, because he was currently harvesting the spoils of war. In addition to the chaos clock, there was also the Fusang tree, one of the 10 innate spiritual roots above the sun. The Fusang fruit on it was also rare. However, he did not dig it away because only here is suitable for its growth, and he also wanted to see if those two birds would reproduce, and he has not found the Hichu Luo Shu yet. There's nothing left on the sun star for now, so it's better to go and take a look at the purple viburnum star. Maybe you can also encounter other innate spiritual treasures. After making up his mind, he waved his hand and broke through the space, appearing directly on the other end. Speaking of these stars, each one can compare to the universe of his past life. After arriving at the purple star, I found that it was covered by a large formation, and its power was not to be underestimated. I injected a little divine power and sensed it. It seems that we need to comprehend before we can pass. Anyway, I am meditating today. Time slowly passed, and 10,000 years later, the great formation was shattered by Taiyuan. Seeing the scenes inside, I felt a bit dumbfounded. Hey! What kind of creature are you? How dare you break into this girl's dojo? A slightly crisp and pleasant voice appeared next to Taiyuan, with a teenage appearance and a cute touch. She was dressed in purple palace attire and holding a sword of innate spiritual treasure in her hand. Looking at the little girl in front of him, Taiyuan was a bit dumbfounded. He never expected that after breaking the formation, there would still be a little girl inside. Looking at her fierce expression, Taiyuan felt a headache, but he still said, "I, the Taiyuan Dao Jun, have met Dao Yu. I thought this was the birth of an innate spiritual treasure, but I didn't expect it to be Dao Yu's dojo. This is really a misunderstanding." Upon hearing Taiyuan's explanation, she nodded with some clarity. After all, at this moment when heaven and earth had just opened up, people's hearts were not yet as complex. "I have seen a Taoist friend of Taiyuan. The purple light in my palace is formed by the transformation of purple osmanthus." Upon hearing Taiyuan's words, the purple light greeted him with a positive expression. If it matched her somewhat cute face, it would be a bit funny. After hearing her introduction, Taiyuan remembered that the mother of all the stars he had heard about in his past life was probably the little girl in front of him. That change is also too great. Although the appearance of the immortal changes according to her psychological age, she has gone from being innocent and lively in front of her to being legendary, elegant, which requires a lot of changes. "Hello. Taiyuan, why didn't you answer my question?" The voice of Ziguang woke up Taiyuan, who was pondering. "I'm thinking about something, don't blame me, Taoist friend." Taiyuan apologized and said to her, although he didn't know how she would undergo such a big change in the future, at least he could see his achievements in the future. Other innate gods had turned into ashes in the measurement of calamity. Except for a few of them, the purple light in front of her was the best. Even the future Emperor Haotian would give her a thin face. "What I want to ask in this palace is Tao Yu from Taiyuan. Are you from the midst of chaos? Can I explain it to you?" Upon hearing Taiyuan's apology, Ziguang didn't pay much attention to those things. Instead, she curiously asked some questions about the past. After all, since she was born, she has not yet left Ziwei Star. Since Ziguang Daoist wants to listen, I will tell you about it. When Taiyuan talked to Ziguang about these things, new changes occurred in the midst of the chaos. As the momentum of the Hunyuan Golden Immortal erupted in Yujing Mountain, Shumi Mountain, and other places, he was introducing the desolate Taiyuan to Ziguang. His tone paused slightly before continuing to explain, only sighing in his heart that the Hunyuan era has arrived. Yujing Mountain is a famous mountain on par with Kunlun Mountain, transformed by Pangu's shoulders. Thousands of spirit beasts run and jump, creating a beautiful scene. At this moment, there was a figure standing on the mountaintop, emitting a faint and ethereal aura. His gaze interpreted countless rules, and he was the future ancestor of Hongjun Taoism. Since breaking through hundreds of years ago, he has been standing on this mountain peak for hundreds of years, and only now does he somewhat lose his gaze. According to my calculations, isn't this era supposed to only have the Sanqing and the 12 ancestral witches? Why did there appear another Pangu Orthodox Taiyuan Dao Jun, or the one who escaped? It turned out that after his last breakthrough, he awakened a little memory and realized that it was not everything he was once familiar with. After our ancestor breaks through the Hunyuan Daoyuo Golden Immortal, let's take a look at you, the Taiyuan Dao Jun. Who exactly are you? After speaking, the aura on his body flashed away, and he was already in the middle stage of the Hunyuan Golden Immortal. His realm was no weaker than that of the Taiyuan. Taiyuan has gained so many opportunities, and what happened to Hongjun? If Taiyuan were here, he would definitely be stunned and feel that this is not the familiar wilderness. In the west, a figure sat cross-legged, with a 12-grade black lotus as black as ink, surrounded by 4 killing swords. The surrounding void could not bear it, and it continued to break and recover. It should be noted that this was in the early ancient times, and even the great Luo Golden Immortal did not necessarily break the space. Looking towards the east, as if seeing the destined enemy, I muttered to myself, this time, I want the Demon Lord, the vast wilderness. New book for votes. It is possible that some readers have seen a lot and hope to raise any mistakes. As long as there is still room for improvement, they must make the necessary changes. Let's encourage each other. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The Patriarch of the Five Elements. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The Patriarch of the Five Elements. 10,000 years later, a young man and woman are bidding farewell on the purple star. Ziguang, stop being playful and practice well. As the first living creature of the Zhou Tianxing, we are only in the middle stage of the Luo Golden Immortal. Look at those of our time, which ones are not the peak or the strongest. This Zhou Tianxing tree is left for you to cooperate with your Zhou Tianxing diagram, which can play a good role. After speaking, he waved his hand at her, and the space folded under his feet. His figure flashed by, and when he reappeared, he had already appeared in the starry sky. Although they didn't look back, they could still feel someone watching behind them. During these 10,000 years, the two formed a deep friendship and regarded each other as close friends. For the playfulness of purple light, Taiyuan deeply understands that as the most prestigious living creature among the stars, two spiritual treasures accompany him, the top-notch innate spiritual treasure, the Zhou Tian Xing Xing Tu, and the Zhou Tian Xing Jian. Compared to ordinary innate gods, she is much happier, but she is a bit disinterested in cultivation. I believe that with Taiyuan's warning this time, she will improve a lot. His gaze turned to the wilderness, and as far as he could remember, he had already appeared in the wilderness. He saw countless innate spiritual beasts being chased by fierce beasts, and sometimes what he saw could be saved. However, with the vastness of the wilderness, it was impossible to save so much. But he didn't know that as he traveled and treated the innate beings, his name also spread in the wilderness, and other innate ancestors also knew about it, which cannot be denied. After all, with their mentality, divinity is greater than human nature, and they generally choose to ignore weak creatures and compete for natural selection. Compared to them, Taiyuan has a bit more human nature, which can also be said to be obsession. Although he can cut off this bit of human nature at any time, he is unwilling to cut it off. Obsession is his driving force. And he has always been grateful for his past 2 lifetimes. Although it was only a few decades, it allowed him to seize the opportunity from the beginning of the chaos. You should know that in the wilderness, one step at a time, even though his realm is still in the mid-stage of the Hunyuan Golden Immortal, his physical heritage far exceeds what it is now. When Taiyuan regained his senses, he found himself walking into a valley where the innate aura was extremely strong, and there was even a flow of Tao and Yun. Interestingly, could it be encountering some innate spiritual root that was born, with such a thick and earthly aura? Looking at the undeveloped spiritual object in front of him, Taiyuan sat cross-legged, ready to wait for its birth. After all, this was his chance. Just as Taiyuan was waiting, several streams of light appeared, and a billion-dollar dragon flashed through the sky. By the time it appeared not far away, it had transformed into a middle-aged man, emitting a domineering aura. At the same time, an unparalleled woman walked towards the south, dressed in fiery red palace attire and a feather jacket, with a colorful phoenix carved on it. She flapped her wings and flew high, burning a blazing fire on her body. After arriving here, she curiously glanced at Taiyuan, then stopped paying attention and stood quietly in the same place, waiting for the spiritual object to be born. Haha! I've never been late, have I? With a burst of laughter, a Taoist wearing a 5-colored Taoist robe appeared. The light of the 5 elements flickered and flowed incessantly, forming the 5 emperors Huagai. The vitality of wood, the sharpness of gold, the scorching heat of fire, the softness of water, and the thickness of soil. At the moment he saw him, Taiyuan thought of a person, the 5 elements ancestor, who was on par with Hongjun and was also a top-notch figure. Unfortunately, he made friends and was tricked. Next, some unknown characters will appear one after another. Taiyuan didn't distinguish those either, maybe they weren't famous enough. Others also cast curious glances at Taiyuan sitting cross-legged on the side. At this moment, the ancestor of the 5 elements walked over and said with a smile, "I am a Taoist of the 5 elements. I don't know your high surname and great name. Can you get to know me?" "Poor Taiyuan, Pangu is authentic." Taiyuan said calmly, disdaining to conceal these things. Thinking about the 3 pure ones in later generations, he would say that Pangu is authentic when he sees others. Taiyuan felt that he was much more low-key. Originally, he was the Taiyuan Daojun. "I apologize for my poor eyesight, but Dao Yu was the first person to be born, and I have been in close contact with him for a long time." After hearing Taiyuan's introduction, the 5 Elements Patriarch was slightly shocked. After all, during the last Sun-Star Wars, there was nothing unknown about the entire wilderness. Moreover, the sun candle holding the innate treasure chaos clock was defeated by him like this, but it shocked the god of the wilderness for a long time. The other people next to them changed their eyes for the first time after hearing it. They thought it was an unknown passerby, but they didn't expect it to be a ruthless person. "I have met the famous Taiyuan Daojun, and we have heard of him for a long time. It's better to meet him than to be famous." Some people who wanted to come over and get to know each other ran over to introduce themselves. Then they said they won't argue this time. After all, the spiritual roots and treasures are not as important as their own lives. But there are still some who think it was just a boast, and they didn't personally see the last war. Who knows what method was used. At this moment, with the violent fluctuation of spiritual energy, the innate spiritual root emerged, attracting everyone's attention and turning their attention to that side. That seems to be Hongjun, a top-notch innate spiritual root. Eating one can make you a Tai Golden Immortal, and once you understand the rules, you can directly be promoted to the Dalai Lama. One of the Taoists, who likes to study genius treasures, said with a radiant expression in his eyes. "I didn't expect this Taoist friend to be so familiar." "I don't know how to call him a friend," someone next to me asked curiously. "I have some gains, but I won't get involved in this matter. This is not something I can get." After seeing the birth of the spiritual root, everyone else resorted to various means, with some folding the space in an attempt to collect it. Before it could be fully collected, it was intercepted by another person in the palm of the universe. Someone attempted to take it and run away, but before they could get it, it was exploded by everyone's joint efforts. After the idea was reborn, they dared not take the risk of the world's misconduct again. Now that even the powerful members of the Hunyuan Golden Immortal haven't taken action, is it interesting for them to argue about this? The ancestor of the 5 elements asked Taiyuan about this spiritual root. He held on to it and was fortunate enough to lose it. His personality may not have as much killing energy as other innate gods due to the uniformity of the 5 elements, and his personality is relatively peaceful. "They are fighting for a glimmer of hope, even if it's just a chance, they will fight for it," said Taiyuan calmly beside him, while using his magic. Just as he was about to take action, a wild laugh echoed in his ear. "Ha ha ha. Since you don't take it, then this seat is disrespectful." A huge creature emerged from the void, facing everyone's attack, slapping and scattering it casually, and then grabbing with its left hand, the spiritual root appeared in his hand. It wasn't until he gradually revealed his figure that everyone knew his identity. Tao Tai, he is the most greedy among the 4 beast kings. Once there was an ancient star that he swallowed in one gulp. At this moment, a person who had seen him said with a panicked expression. "Tao Tai, you're not practicing well in the north, but you're running wild in the east. Our ancestor has bestowed death on you today." At this moment, Zulong stood up with a rebellious expression and looked at Tao Tai. "Just a loach, dare to speak shamelessly in front of me and seek death." Tao Tai looked at Zulong, a towering golden immortal, daring to act recklessly in front of him. After speaking, he pushed his palm forward, as if pushing countless worlds. Their time and space were completely disrupted, with no cause and effect, and no order. After the dust settled, the two of them showed their figures, their gluttonous aura a bit messy, but they did not suffer any serious damage. Zulong was much more miserable, with serious injuries. If they didn't make a decisive decision, they might have been exiled in that time and space. Seeing Zulong's injury, everyone's eyes flashed with disbelief. You should know that even among his peers, he is not weak. How about it? Who else wants to learn? Humph. Cao Tai said with a look on his face. He had just looked at this place and there were no Hunyuan golden immortals, so he didn't panic at all. Dao Yu, is it because our sense of existence is too low, or is there something wrong with his eyes? Taiyuan looked at the five elements ancestor with a questioning gaze. The ancestor of the five elements smiled bitterly and said, in our realm, we don't want him to see it. Can he see it? At the same time, I secretly thought to myself that there were some bullies from Taiyuan, even if it was my ancestor. If I didn't observe carefully, I would think you were a passerby. A new book needs to be treated with gentleness. Just let everyone know what you have in the comments section. The author will write and post each one. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Subordinates. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Subordinates. Seeing the arrogant expression on Taotia's face, he almost wrote, who else is there? Zufeng and the Qilin king glanced at each other but did not choose to take action. They know that this top-notch innate spiritual root has not belonged to them since its birth. Just now, I made a move just to test Taiyuan's reaction. The result disappointed them very much. Taiyuan did not take any action. In fact, they did not know that if someone had obtained it from the beginning, Taiyuan would have given up. For him now, this is just to satisfy his appetite. If it is an innate treasure, he still has to compete. While the gluttony was continuing to talk incessantly, suddenly a voice came from behind. Is that right? Gluttony, why don't we make gestures? Taiyuan looked at him with a playful smile. The four legendary ferocious beasts, I don't know how good their meat is. Who are you, really? If you don't want to die, go away a bit. At first glance, there was still some hesitation, but upon careful observation, it was not the strong one that the god-rebel beast emperor asked them to pay attention to. So the tone of the gluttonous tone became stiff, and at the same time, he thought to himself that this boy's cultivation of the art of concealment was so profound. I didn't want to talk to you and threw a clock at you. When? The sound echoed through the heavens, and the glutton could only feel its thoughts spinning, but its body was not at its disposal. Its body, which could not even accommodate the small world, was gradually being folded and twisted. Just as he wanted to beg for mercy, a voice came in his ear, arrogant and indifferent, making the people on the side shudder. Time and space are infinite, forbidden. The gluttony that had just wanted to abandon its original spirit and body, and then escape from the long river of time and space with a little true spirit, was instantly imprisoned again, illusory and ethereal in reality, full of fear. I never expected to escape from the long river of time and space to the present or future, even if it was just a day earlier. However, I never expected to encounter someone who understands the laws of time and space. Now that the physical body of the primordial spirit is gone, even the true spirit is in someone else's hands. If God could give him a chance, Tao Tai would definitely say, I will never pass by this side again. I said, destroy everything that shouldn't exist. The Tao Tai true spirit quickly dissipated, time passed quickly, and he walked peacefully without even uttering a scream. This ingredient is good, it can be added to the meal again, said Taiyuan with some anticipation as he looked at the intact gluttonous body. He specifically took out the chaos clock to imprison time and space in order to protect the ingredients, but fortunately no one knew his thoughts. However, what he said made the three ancestors of dragons, phoenixes, Qilin, and tigers beside him tremble uncontrollably, especially Yuan Feng, whose face was unparalleled in beauty and beauty was filled with pitiful and charming words. It's not that they haven't thought about running away. They all want to take this bus that runs through time and space, but they haven't run away. Why do they run on their own? What are you still doing here, where are you going? Get out of my way, don't get in my way. Looking at these, he eagerly looked at his own person. Taiyuan's expression was full of impatience, and none of them had the strength to see. After hearing this sentence, everyone felt as if they were granted amnesty. Some transformed into prototypes and flew away, while others burned their essence and blood at a speed they wouldn't normally imagine, crossing countless times and appearing in their own dojo. Taoist friend, why don't we taste it together? Is the meat of this beast king delicious? Looking at the 5 elements ancestor, Taiyuan warmly invited him. I would like to express my gratitude to my fellow Taoist. I didn't expect to be so powerful. Practicing 3 rules at the same time made us sweat. He has gained a new understanding of the power of Taiyuan, and his own companion's spiritual treasure has not been taken out. As an authentic Pangu, he is definitely not inferior to that. Taoist friend Miao praised it. A little bit of subtle skill is not worth mentioning, to the extent that it is Taoist friend's 5 elements divine power, but it is very impressive. For the 5 elements divine skill, Taiyuan also had some thoughts in his heart. It should be noted that he had 3 innate 5 square flags, and was still afraid that the chaotic Qinglian fragments he had collected would evolve into them. Upon hearing Taiyuan's words, the corners of the 5 elements ancestor's mouth curved slightly, appearing somewhat happy. After all, he was still very pleased to praise someone who was similar to him. Upon seeing this situation, Taiyuan continued, Friend Dao, why don't we have a discussion and exchange our thoughts? Upon hearing Taiyuan's words, the 5 elements ancestor was a bit surprised, but still very happy. He also had some ideas about the laws of time and space. It would be even better if he could learn from them by analogy. In the discourse when they were discussing the Tao, although there were no dazzling golden lotus blooms, countless Tao accumulations filled the air, causing nearby spiritual beasts to rush towards them. After bowing to the 2, he continued to listen quietly, and as the voice spread wider and wider, more and more people listened. 3,000 years later, the 2 stopped discussing and smiled at each other, each gaining something. We would like to express our gratitude to Taiyuan Daojun and the Patriarch of the 5 elements for their kindness in spreading the teachings. As everyone paid their respects, there was a loud bang in the sky, and the half-completed merit of the great Tao, which was full of enlightenment, descended. Don't underestimate half of it, it's equivalent to half a treasure of merit, and it only existed when the great Tao was in charge of the vast wilderness. When the heavenly Tao appeared in the future, even this little merit of the great Tao would be lost. The 2 Taiyuan took the 5 success virtues, the 5 elements ancestor took 4 layers, and the rest was surrendered to the listeners present. Upon hearing the Tao, everyone quickly thanked again. Unexpectedly, upon hearing the Tao, they could still gain merit. With some merit gained in the wilderness, their cultivation speed would become faster. This time, I was all in the favor of my fellow Taoist. Thank you very much, Taoist. The Patriarch of the 5 elements once again thanks that with these merits, one's path of cultivation will be smoother. Taiyuan waved his hand and looked at the crowd who hadn't left yet. He asked curiously, why haven't you left yet? What else is there? I would like to inform you, Daojun. As we are a casual cultivator, we are constantly being excluded. Therefore, we would like to join your command and hope that you will take us in. After speaking, we paid a great respects and the rest of the group followed suit. After hearing their thoughts, Taiyuan still had some excitement. After all, his 30.3 days were still empty and he didn't even have a subordinate. You have accepted it, but on one condition, you must not betray. I hate those who betray me the most, so before betraying, it's best to think about how to escape my pursuit. We obey your orders and promise not to betray you. Thank you very much for taking me in, Daojun. Looking at the newly recruited subordinates, their qualifications are quite good. They were born with the first white tiger, panda, and even the first dog in the world, the ancestor of the roaring dog. Taiyuan couldn't help but laugh and cry. Since you have become my subordinates, these acquired spiritual treasures are refined by our sect. Take them and share them." He casually threw down a pile of spiritual treasures, which he collected materials to pass the time and refine when bored, but some were no less than ordinary innate spiritual treasures. After all, when he was refining, he integrated some rules, such as the time and space he practiced, destruction, as well as some creations, and other fragments of understanding. Then continue to say to them, "And I will set up a time and space barrier here. It is impossible to open it without exceeding my cultivation level. Thank you very much, Dao Jun, for giving us treasures. We are immensely grateful. They have always been scattered cultivators, and we have never seen so many spiritual treasures. Not everyone on the vast land has innate spiritual treasures. Just like those who live at the bottom and often struggle on the line of life and death, they are still very satisfied with obtaining these spiritual treasures. Daoist friends' great kindness has established a place for them to settle down, which is immeasurable merit." After Taiyuan finished his work, the 5 elements ancestor standing next to him looked admiring. Although he sometimes helped, he never thought of using this method. "Thank you all for your support. The friend who voted, I also saw your vote just now. Thank you." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Hongjun's Calculation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Hongjun's Calculation. During the conversation between Taiyuan and the 5 elements ancestor, there were angry and envious people in various regions regarding the matter of heavenly merit and virtue. Some people plan to emulate it, but it has no effect at all. If it is so easy to obtain great merits, what else should others cultivate? The Yin-Yang ancestor and the Qiankuan ancestor were exchanging teachings with each other, feeling the merit bestowed by heaven, and a hint of envy flashed in their eyes. I didn't expect this Taiyuan Daojun to be so powerful. He was born as an authentic Pangu, with a long-lasting aura and a deeper cultivation level, standing out from the dust and leading us by an unknown amount. Regarding the words of the Qiankuan ancestor, the Yin-Yang ancestor has a different opinion. It's just one step ahead, we have a chance to catch up. After speaking, he stroked the Tai Chi diagram in his hand, knowing that he only had one of the 3 treasures of heaven, which made him feel proud. Facing some old friends who loved to show off, Qiankuan ancestor twitched his lips. After a long silence, he once again entered the realm of discourse. Which of these innate ancestors did not follow their own path? Compared to the Lich Age, the current Taiku Age is the best era, where all races compete for freedom. Yujing Mountain, although still a holy land of fairy mountains, is filled with an oppressive atmosphere. The spirit beasts living here dare not breathe a breath. Thief Dao, our ancestors will never cease to fight against you. The hatred of robbing treasures and stealing opportunities will surely send you to the land of eternal calamity. Although he spoke harshly, he did not take any action. Hongjun knew that everything known to Taiyuan had a chaos clock in his hand. He had not yet appeared in front of him when holding the Pangu banner, so he did not know. He was not aware of anything else, but considering his authentic identity as a Pangu, being a companion to the treasure was at least one thing. Now he only has the creation jade butterfly and a few top-notch innate spiritual treasures on him, with no great chance of winning. With his personality, he will not appear in front of Taiyuan. He glanced at Zhou Shan with an indifferent gaze, and a series of calculations flashed through his heart. When he spoke, he did not mention his name. When they reached their level, they would feel a sense of emotion when speaking. A few hundred years later, a news spread throughout the entire wilderness. The Taiyuan Daojun, the founder of Pangu, had the complete inheritance of Pangu and could become a saint of the great Tao. After the news spread, the entire flood shook. Whether it was true or not, as long as there was a possibility, they would not give up. Even beyond the ancient Starry Sky, a peerless giant awakened. In the Starry Sky, on a secluded ancient star, there was a Taoist who was covered in starlight and woke up from his slumber. Interestingly, I didn't expect the inheritance of Pangu to come to this world, but I'm not sure if it's true or false. Unfortunately, the clone who stayed in the wilderness was too weak to investigate the truth of this matter. However, I should go out and take a walk. It turned out that this person was the Chaos Star Demon God from the beginning, who was beaten to the brink of death by Pangu, and then paid a heavy price. True Spirit brought a part of the demon god's body to this inconspicuous star. As for why he didn't go to the Taiyuan sun or the violet star, because he knew that at the beginning of the flood, most of Pangu's will was gathered in these places, and he didn't want to be chopped down again. At first, he was eager to transform the innate demon god body and randomly took some souls, creating a clone specifically responsible for gathering information. As the stars set off, they shone brightly in the wilderness. It should be noted that some of these ancient stars were also transformed by his body. But the most important 365 were formed by Pangu into a mysterious formation, slowly eroding his origin. Although his cultivation has now returned to the late stage of the Hongjun Golden Immortal, it is far from enough to reveal his own origin, which is why he is so concerned about the inheritance of Pangu. With his actions, the innate demons and gods hidden in various places appeared one after another, but not everyone thought so. Some are just experiencing the authentic Pangu culture, while others are purely seeking revenge by transferring their original hatred onto Taiyuan. For these, Taiyuan is not yet aware. He is currently heading towards the underworld sea for future planning. In these years, after the departure of the five elements ancestor, he used the top-quality innate spiritual root of Hongjun to cultivate some followers of the Tai Golden Immortal. After they gained the power of self-protection, they left the place he named Luoqian Mountain. Is this the netherworld of blood? It is indeed the source of all filthy things, just like the legend. It seems that he has not been born yet. Thousands of years later, Taiyuan finally arrived at the destination. You should know that on this journey, he has been rushing with all his strength, folding the space-time and time again, and overcoming it for so long. It can be seen that the vast wilderness is truly a half-step eternal world, it is really too big. Although I didn't want to go in, I had to go in order to test my ideas. With a movement of mind, a pagoda emitting the aura of Xianhuang merit appeared above the head of Taiyuan, and then used the laws of time and space to wrap oneself layer by layer inside. After completing all of this, it felt like this wave was very stable. Only then did Taiyuan slowly sink into the sea of blood. He didn't want to jump directly like those predecessors who had traveled through time. How much blood of the chaotic demon god has condensed in this sea of blood, even though it has become weak with the passage of time, it is not something that the current one can resist. Accidentally being eroded by the will and the essence and blood of the chaos demon god, he will have to put in a lot of effort to solve these future problems. Now he understood why the Styx River ancestor had not been born. Under so much pressure, even the Hongjun Daluo Golden Immortal was struggling. As for why the Lich Age became so weak, Taiyuan speculates that it may have been cleared when the heavenly Tao was born, and in the end, it was not until it could not be cleared that it became the Styx ancestor. Thinking this way, Taiyuan understood why the Styx River ancestor could not become a saint. In the sea of blood, he was like tying a chain and could never escape the control of the heavenly way. But once he becomes holy, everything in the sea of blood will turn into his heritage. You can imagine what kind of killing god the blood of 3,000 demon gods, even if it's just dirty blood, will create. Is there anything terrifying inside the previous seal? It's just a faint breath that makes me feel my heart tremble. After searching for Taiyuan in the sea of blood for countless years, he finally found an abnormal place, but that place made him hesitate. With his current cultivation level, he feels it is necessary to persevere first, otherwise the benefits will not be planned, and it will actually harm the life of the Qing. After walking out, the pressure relaxed and a smile appeared on the face as he looked at the two things in his hand. It seems that there has been some harvest, but this lotus platform is a bit malnourished. Let it be nurtured and formed in the sea of blood first. Although he didn't get the result he wanted this time, seeing the red lotus in the future only disappointed him a bit. It has not yet been successfully nurtured due to its insufficient source. Compared to the 20.4 grade natural green lotus in his hand, it is even more incomparable. At the same time, he also sighs in his heart that inheritance of property has existed since chaos. Look at how well the leader has developed with so many lotus platforms. Setting aside these thoughts in my heart, I set up a large formation and also gave it a bit of luck to accelerate its growth. After finishing these things, I took a deep look at the sea of blood, my mind moved, and the avenue of time and space appeared at my feet, leaving this place. There are too many secrets in the wilderness, and Taiyuan needs to practice in seclusion. The laws of time and space are almost complete, and he urgently wants to preach before raising his eyebrows. I feel unwell today and have been waiting for a long time, fellow Taoists. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Fierce People of Taiyuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The Fierce People of Taiyuan. Boom. Taiyuan, who was slowly on his way, suddenly encountered an attack. Faced with the attack, the azure lotus of creation automatically appeared at his feet, blocking the blow. Unexpectedly, Taiyuan Daojun is not a vegetarian either, and this has not hurt you. Seeing that his attack was useless, he secretly hit a person in front of Taiyuan with a smile on his face, unable to see that he was the one who attacked Taiyuan earlier. When? The long and vast sound of bells, as if from the beginning of ancient times, resounded throughout the boundless and desolate world, and the world fell into a temporary state of stillness. At the moment when the enemy was imprisoned, the light of Hongmeng flickered in Taiyuan's hand, and the Hongmeng measuring ruler appeared in his hand, transforming into an attack that could shatter countless stars and hit the enemy. At the same time, the space behind him was folded into countless dust worlds by Taiyuan, and after the attack hit him, it attempted to reset everything to zero. The sudden attack by Taiyuan was unexpected for this person. After a series of attacks, he was almost blinded. If it weren't for the warning from the true spirit in the final battle, who chopped up a piece of time and space and escaped a ray of true spirit, he might have been the most frustrated Hunyuan golden immortal to die. When it reappeared in the wilderness, a ray of true spirit slowly transformed from emptiness to reality. Although it returned to its original state, its original source was damaged and the true spirit was missing, and its combat power decreased to zero. If we don't complete the original source, our whole life may come to an end, and we look at Taiyuan with hatred in our eyes. Taiyuan Daojun, what do you mean by this? I'm just trying to test you. You're right, I thought the same way. I didn't expect you to be so vulnerable to temptation. Taiyuan said seriously, his face full of innocence. His answer made the real person on the other side, Wu, almost spit out a mouthful of blood if he hadn't restrained himself. Wu Immortal was originally a casual cultivator. Since receiving the news, he wanted to give it a try. If he couldn't defeat him, he had already agreed on the idea. However, he didn't expect Taiyuan to take action at a word of disagreement, and his moves were inseparable from the killing moves. Did you test it like this? Those who were observing in the dark were also speechless, wondering who could take the test of the postnatal treasure of merit and innate treasure. When he saw what else he wanted to say, Taiyuan's face darkened, completely different from the expression he had just shown, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Since we want to test our seat, we must have the determination to turn it into ashes. Shaking the chaotic clock once again, combined with the evolving laws of time and space in hand, it was truly seamless. The unwarranted real person who wanted to say something more was sent to reincarnation before he had a chance to react. With the idea of using your hands to stop beeping, we perfectly solved the problem of the unwarranted real person, causing him to succumb to death without even taking out his innate spiritual treasure. The harvest is good, it seems that this is also a way to get rich, don't you think? As he spoke, he whispered softly, and finally looked at the void with sharp eyes, and cut out the Hongmeng measuring ruler in his hand. The attacks, accompanied by the law of destruction, all hit the void. With a few bursts of blood, several figures appeared in front of Taiyuan, all suffering varying degrees of damage. Taiyuan Daoyu, what does this mean? Aren't you afraid that we will all rise up and attack? The first person to speak was a middle-aged Taoist with a sinister gaze. He is the first innate manifestation of turbid qi, named Tianyi. Although his foundation may not be very good, it is not too bad either. At least not worse than those of Zenyuanzi and others in the future, it is just that he was born in the wrong era. This era is the most glorious and cruel, most of which are related to the Chaos Demon God, and some are even the remnants of the Chaos Demon God. That's why Tianyi wants to connect several Taoist friends and share the benefits of Taiyuan. The other few are similar to him, in a neither up nor down position, but they far underestimate Taiyuan's methods. Humph, let's put your horse over here, and we will all continue here. After finishing speaking, without waiting for them to attack, he came again to kill and attack. He wanted to use the blood of these early birds to tell the sentient beings of the Hongjun that Taiyuan Daojun should not be deceived. The entire space and time here have been sealed off by him. Only by defeating Taiyuan can Tianyi and a few people leave this sealed world. It seems that we can only have a glimmer of hope if we fight hard and make a desperate effort. After feeling the pressure from Taiyuan, the few of them felt a bit bitter inside, knowing that they shouldn't have been driven by greed in the beginning. Clear and turbid evolution, the grinding wheel of heaven and earth, has worn me away. Infinite and boundless, one strike from heaven and earth. Faced with the attacks of others, Taiyuan's face showed no sadness or joy. With one hand, his time and space were boundless, blocking their attacks. This time and space were completely erased, and with the other hand, he destroyed the law and chopped towards several people. Ah! Damn it! A person was accidentally cut and injured while defending in a disheveled state, with a terrifying destructive force that created a wildfire and wreaked havoc inside his body. Taichen Dao friend, thief Dao, go die for me. On the other side, Tianyi was furious and grieved, and was completely injured by him for a moment. Hee. This is just the beginning, time and space form a loop, endless cycle, give me extinction. After blocking their attack with the chaos clock, Taiyuan, with the idea of cutting off one finger over 10 fingers, appeared directly behind Taichen across countless time and space. He was already severely injured and had little resistance, but this time he was completely wiped out. Taiyuan's ruthlessness made the remaining few secretly shocked, while the attacks on their hands became even more fierce, and the space behind them was shattered. After blocking their attack, the sound of the Taiyuan bell rang again, even though it had been heavily guarded, it was still frozen for a moment. Faced with such a fierce battle, a single thought is eternal. The battle should be over. Although they are both Hunyuan golden immortals, there is still a gap. Time and space collapse, and destruction are limitless. After speaking indifferently, the few of them wanted to resist, but they had already been sealed countless times by the Taiyuan, and could only watch helplessly as they slowly turned into ashes. There were only a few true spirits left in place, attempting to escape along the river of time. Before they could take action, they were held in one big hand. The innate indestructible spiritual light has transformed into a true spirit, but it is a rare and good material. Do you think so? After the battle was over, I casually smoothed out this space and time, and then cut off the names of these people from the source of time. When I finished these things, it seemed like I was missing a memory, but I couldn't remember it. Only those who have broken through the great Luo Golden Immortal know that some strong individuals have been completely cut off from their memory by others, leaving no room for survival. Those gods who feel the flow of time and space have lingering palpitations. For them, the death of their physical and spiritual essence is nothing, and even if their true spirit is erased, they are not afraid of anything. They can automatically return from other people's memories, but it's just a bit long. But when no one remembers you, it disappears completely, unless someone is willing to pay a greater price to stop Taiyuan Daojun during this time period. But who would offend a ruthless person for just a few strangers? New books need nurturing. End of this chapter.